Society. Society is a system defined as human groups interacting with the universe. Uh, my definition. Currently, we have a global kind of interaction with the cosmos. So we have a global society that consists of the world and the various human groups interacting with the world. But this interaction would eventually expand farther into the solar system. So, what are the interactions and the subsystems of global society? What are the interactions and subsystems of humans, their groups, and the rest of the world? This circle is, is the world, and society is the world society simplified down to its core elements. Key Okay, so we have the subsystems. We have biotic systems. Uh, they are biological systems. Abiotic systems, non-biological systems, such as the rocks, water, hydrosphere, atmosphere. Human. Within the human, we have memories. These are big parts of society. Emotions motivate behaviors, goals, future states of reality that emotions attempt to reach or avoid. Belief. Beliefs help predict the future by establishing cause and effect relationships. These beliefs then therefore help plan and achieve the goals of emotions by aiding in prediction. It's about easier to reach those goals, or avoid them, the future states of reality, if we can predict what actions will get those states of reality or avoid them. Then we have truer beliefs. These are beliefs that more accurately describe reality. Now we have control points. Okay, this is a kind of memory. These represents those control memories, oppressive control memories, money, territory, possessions, and positions in dominance hierarchies. I've simplified it with just 1, 2, 3, but that's their representation of all those. This is what is traditionally thought of as power in human societies, in the societies of the biosphere. All the animals think this is power. Alphas seek this utility to maximize their replications. Bucks fight over territory and mates. Chimpanzees fight over dominance hierarchy ascension. People, especially in large-scale male-dominated societies, fight over all of those, in addition to money and possessions. Social rules. These are a kind of memory, but they get wrote into law, a kind of technology. Okay. They determine the development of people's minds and their behaviors, along with the state of technology and knowledge. So, structural violence. James Gilligan, a former Harvard psychologist for about 40 years, came up with the term structural violence, which we'll refresh here. It is violence and disorder in people's behavior that is caused by them being affected by the structure of society. Structural violence is a subphenomenon of what I call structural determinism, which states that the structure of society, in particular the social rules, largely determines the mind states of people and therefore their behavior. If there is a small-scale crime in society, it's because there are large-scale crimes of creating abusive social rules that oppress the system for macro-alpha predator male utility. You have patriarchal rules, these criminal laws that are causing crime. So bad behavior means the laws are bad. In contrast, good behavior from citizens means your laws are good, or getting better, healthier, growing into a more civil state. So we have macro-patriarchal social rules. These are the rules and perceptions. Uh, the rules. Okay, so the rules and perceptions behind patriarchal laws have been naturally selected, like a chimpanzee band to maximize the replication of males in alpha state. In tribal state, more extreme forms of oppression, like assassinating family members or political rivals, didn't happen frequently, if at all. But when they become larger societies, the economy has changed, allowing new oppressive strategies to emerge. Where one man has vast control and others have little to none, making slavery and mass stratification rational um, to maximally replicate the genes of men in alpha state. So it's funny, like the agricultural revolution. We give, poor man. It's like, oh man, abundance happens. You think they'll share it all and they'll be in great shape. But no, it's like when you give man abundance, it's instinctually to hoard it all and have others less. So it's almost like abundance makes for more unequal societies. These large patrilineal clans. When they're in these tribal clans and things are more scarce and they don't have as much, it seems more egalitarian. But that's what their genes are like built for. But when they get to this agrarian revolution, and then all of a sudden there's tons of resources, and now it becomes rational to hoard them, and they're able to. Others get nothing. Or next to nothing. Okay. Small square. So so it's not just the lack of abundance that's causing crime. It's a state of mind, this alpha state, mind state, that's even in the face of abundance will consolidate it all. Small-scale criminal behavior, caused by large-scale criminal behavior of creating criminal laws. So, as I was saying, small-scale crime is being caused by the large-scale crime of creating laws that are themselves criminal and cause structural violence. Abusive patriarchal laws cause people to misbehave and commit crimes. Because of their oppressive nature and structural violence they cause, patriarchal laws are criminal creations. These criminal laws cause crime, and there's huge cover-up of the fact. James Gilligan reduced the crime rate in a prison to almost zero. It was a terrible place. There's a lot of murder in that prison. Yet everyone believes, as they've been mind-controlled to believe, there will always be crime. That's how the straight patriarchal social structure has always existed, though. Forced violence, propaganda create and maintain the laws of patriarchy. If everyone knew that structural violence is causing all the crimes, then they'd be protesting the laws, and you don't want people to do that. Very few people know about structural violence and James Gilligan. These criminal patriarchal laws are the norm through history. Genocide, slavery, mass pedophilia, uneven wealth acquisition laws, where the poor have to work harder and harder for less and less, while the wealthy have to work less and less for more and more. This is all ordained by undemocratic, predatory lawmaking practices. All large-scale crimes are done through law. Patriarchal laws are the primary tool of abuse by patriarchal societies. We are still in this kind of patriarchal law that dishonor the system, abuse it to extract macro predator male utility from it. And society is in disarray and disempowered because of these patriarchal laws. So now we have civil rules instead of these patriarchal rules. Civil rules are rules created instead of by natural selection, but by scientific discourse. People scientifically debate on the functionality of the laws and vote on them. These rules honor the rights of the system to empower their health and progress society into civilization. Following these social rules would cause our society to eventually turn into things like Dyson spheres or any other conceivable advanced civilization. So the rules that guide our labor on the world, these civil rules, to help make it a better place. We're not just destroying our planet for money. We're laboring on it to make it more healthy. And civil rules help ordain that labor, make it happen. So remember, patriarchal laws prey on and destroy the world to get control of it. So patriarchal laws destroy this. This is the physical systems to get this, which is just a memory. Whereas civil laws do the opposite. They use this to improve this. They destroy and sacrifice this to make this better. And eventually this becomes so advanced because it sends the Kardashev up the Kardashev scale into something like a Dyson sphere. So in a civil society, money control just doesn't sit around in banks and devoted to the cosmos. It's sacrificed on the world, used in devotion for its ascension. Interactions of society. One of the primary interactions by which humans increase their society's survival probability is technological and memory synthesis, which is when humans use these control memories to change biotic and abiotic systems, so circles and triangles, into squares, and those little dots in that, those memories, the dots inside the star. This is human. There's the memories inside it. There's this technology, hers, and abiotic and biotic. So control this interaction called, tech and memory synthesis, is the process by which this is used, control, on biotic systems and abiotic systems, to change them into memories and technology. So we make stone tools from stone, leather from animals, and we drink water and eat plants and change them into energy for thoughts to merge new memories. You see, so this is super key to its survival. This is why human society is so insane and awesome and crazy compared to other animal groups. Is that they synthesize memories and technology, not just knowledge, but emotions, higher emotions. So the big problem here, though, is that animal groups don't do that. Animal groups are all about this and destroying and sacrificing all this to get more of this, because this helps replicate genes. And that's why life is, I would say, most certainly doomed and cannot progress the Kardashev scales. It's not evolved to. It's not evolved to spend this on this. It's evolved to sacrifice this for this. Okay, so historically we've synthesized at a steady rate, but it's slow. Not until the evolution of our social rules into one that honors people's rights to education and mass does this synthesis truly start to take off. So democracies. So our technological memory synthesis has been pretty slow. It's pretty stable though. And then all of a sudden democracy happened. And then all of a sudden it started educating everyone. And that's when the synthesis took off. The synthesis is potentially destructive to society depending on the social rules. So inadvertently, this synthesis that we could use to save everything, we're using it to destroy the world at an ever more accelerated rate. So however vital this synthesis is, large-scale male-dominated societies, which could be called macro-patriarchy, doesn't use control to synthesize technology and knowledge. It uses control, not to synthesize, but to get more control. And it uses control to historically, it uses control to prevent people from being educated and miseducate them, to make them abject and psychological slaves that are less able at synthesizing knowledge and synthesizing technology and memories. And instead of all this control being used to improve the physical systems and improve survival, it's just used to get more of itself. Trillions of dollars sits in the banks. And it's only used so that more money can be put in the banks. This is to be expected. As I've stated earlier, almost all of the animals of the world are fighting and destroying the world to get more of these points. So naturally people would too. And it was like, as I said, when it was in a tribal state, you could only have so much of these points. So it was like stable. It's what they were that's what they're evolved to be. But then all of a sudden the agricultural revolution happened, larger scale societies started to form, and then it reverted back into more like a chimpanzee band, with an alpha, small group numbers of alpha males controlling everything. Okay. Equation of power. Power is traditionally, from the patriarchal perspective, perceived as this control right here. However, I define power from the perspective of decision theory. It is the alternatives at one's disposal. So we could form an equation. Power, which is alternatives at your disposal, equals control times the controllable systems. So the alternatives at your disposal isn't just determined by how much money you have. A king 1,000 years ago, in a way, is less powerful than an average citizen on a minimum wage today. They have, because the king had way more control, but the controllable systems he did not have. He doesn't have smartphones. He doesn't have vaccines. He could die by a mosquito bite. And this is big. So what's increasing our power is not getting more of this. No, it's about spending this and using it on the physical systems to synthesize them into technology and knowledge to make these better, so that the alternatives at your disposal are more powerful, more survival enabling, more profound, more effective in the world. Okay. So when this side of the equation is spin on this side, power is increased. But it's not what we do. We destroy this to get more of that until we die. Until there's nothing left, and we just say peace on our species. But they can't help that. That's what life is evolved to do. It makes sense. This is power. Millions of years of evolution tells life that this is power. It has no idea about technology or memories and synthesize them. It's just, you got to break the world and get more of this to spread more of your genes better, or replicate more your genes better. And it's not just about breaking this, but mostly. There's parenting and stuff like that, but even then, that's just with your own kids, and sometimes then you still push them out of the nest and all kinds of stuff. So, okay. So most patriarchal leaders, therefore, make the world. They work to make the world less powerful, more unhealthy, less healthy. More unhealthy, so they can get more of this. We're gonna put the we're bringing coal back, and we're gonna be drilling in the oceans. Never mind what is it, Deepwater Horizon and all that stuff. We gotta drill in the oceans to get more of this, and who cares if this gets destroyed? Whatever, we got this. But then they just do that until there's nothing left of the physical systems. Okay. I shouldn't say it like that. So a small group of men have all kinds of control while the physical systems of the world die and are destroyed. A couple men have all this, but this is dead. They never spent this on this to synthesize and improve it. Alright, ethics can be divided, and that's not their fault, not at all. That's just what's selected. That's what maximally spreads the genes of men in alpha state. In that context, ancestral context. Ethics, large-scale ancestral context. Ethics can be divided into two broad categories: consequence ethics, looks at the consequences of our actions. Rule ethics looks at what rules or our actions follow. I like to use consequence ethics and rule ethics. It's super simple to understand. It says what it is, but anyway, use those labels. My ethics synthesize both of these. The consequences we want to get is health increases, while rights are the rules by which we follow to reach these consequences. So when we apply this ethics to society, we would get something similar to that civil society I was speaking of, where our rules are scientific and honor rights to increase health. So when we apply this kind of ethics, this health rights ethics to society, we start making civil laws. Okay. Animal groups are also a subject we'll be covering here. Groups of animals seem mainly defined by their main mating strategy, functions, organization, adaptation, distribution, and economy. So the main goal of evolution is maximize the number of healthy replications. That's the main goal, the main routine. Excuse me. Differences in mating strategies, males versus females. Okay, so when you get to more complex animals, such as the ones that differ in sex, and like mammals, and this isn't always true, but it holds generally true, and if not, it's usually just because of environmental constraints, and that is males are there to maximize the number of replications, while as females, because they can only have one usually, sometimes they can have a couple, like cats. So house cats can get, I'm pretty sure, impregnated by multiple males. But even then, they would try to be maximizing health, choosing the right one, or healthiest ones. So, but between these two, maximizing the number of and the health of, you get that one main goal, like back when they were asexual and just they were just doing it all with one thing, where it's one cell trying to replicate a lot and have a lot of healthy replications. So when you get to males and females, it kind of divides that up, one to the number and one to the health, but together they get that one goal. It seems most, if not all, male-led groups have the main mating strategy of maximizing the number of replications of the male and alpha state as their main goal. Whereas females, it's more about maximizing, it seems, the health of their replications. Functions are subroutines. Okay, we're going to functions here. Functions are subroutines that help reach the main goal of either the sex's mating strategies. Say biological functions. All right, subroutines that help reach the main goal of either the sex's mating strategies. They're things that the group does to either help maximize the number of replications for the alpha male or help the health of the replications for the alpha females. Animal groups organize themselves, as I've said, and create functions, biological functions, to serve this main routine. So male-led groups often have different organizations and functions than female-led groups due to the differences in mating strategies. Adaptation distribution is the way in which adaptations are distributed among the members of the group. There's all these different adaptations of the group that serve different functions that the group needs to achieve its main mating routine. Adaptations of making and raising babies, adaptations to bring in resources. So here, ants. So you have a group of ants. You have queens, which are and drones and workers. So the adaptation distribution in the group is so in a way that the queen is there to just have babies like all day, every day. Drones are there to potentially impregnate the queen. Workers are there to bring in nutrients, food, dig tunnels, manage the young. So you see there's an adaptation distribution, a difference there between those animals of that group, those insects of that group. And the same way humans, the males adaptation distribution, they're the hunters. They go out and get territory with hunting. Whereas the females adaptation distribution, they're more concerned with raising young and foraging. They actually have better vision, on average, are better able at seeing colors. This makes sense. That's what their ancestral role was. To pick which berries are the best. Which ones aren't poisonous. Then you see colors really well. So, economics is a subject we'll be covering. Its definition has been and is up for debate, but it's currently defined as the study of the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. This definition is strictly human or simply similar to it. So that current definition is a very human society. My definition of economics is the study of any algorithmic system such as brains and minds, or group of algorithmic systems, and how they extract, produce, distribute, and expend subsystems and interactions throughout their systems to make the system move to achieve a certain goal. Such subsystems and interaction could be labeled as resources. So this definition has a much broader scope than only human groups. Other non-human animal groups are included, and it includes non-group entities such as one organism, and it states that there is a primary goal to which the economy is organized to serve. So I'll repeat that definition. Any algorithmic system or group of algorithmic systems, and how they extract, produce, distribute, and expend resources, which is defined as subsystems and interactions. So throughout, and how they spend these resources, expend them, extract them, produce them, distribute them, throughout their systems, to make their systems move to achieve a certain goal. Okay. Algorithmic systems include any smart matter, to put it simply. Systems that can make decisions, though these decisions are very constrained in their ability to make them. And the decisions are the result of systemic interactions. Humans, AI, animals, even single-celled organisms are considered algorithmic systems. Your body has an economy. There's an economics to your body, and you're just consuming things, and your body distributes it throughout your systems. And I included the word extraction there because sometimes goods are not produced, they're not refined, they're extracted in raw form and from the environment used, such as water. This also helps us understand non-human animal economies, where they mainly only use raw material. I use the word expending because of its broader definition than consumption, which helps us describe what's happening with the economics of the body. Consumption, metabolism, and potentially more could fall under expending. I use the word subsystems and interactions because this is much broader than just goods and services. In fact, goods and services are a kind of subsystem in interactions. So it can encompass what's happening with other animal groups and their economies. Goods are subsystems, services are types of interactions. Animal groups extract subsystems from the surrounding environment, such as food, then distribute them, then expend them. Okay, I included goal because in animals and their groups, depending on if they're female or male-led, the goal of maximizing the number of replications or the goal of maximizing the health of replications are the primary goals that the economy is trying to achieve. So we may not realize it, but our economy is centered around a goal, and that is to maximize the number of genetic replications for males in alpha state, just like every animal group, male-dominated animal group. There's a reason subsystems interactions are being extracted, produced, distributed, and expended, and that is to maximize the number of genetic replications for males in alpha state. So the genes and the mind learns how to build economies, which helps replicate the genes best. So to recap this definition of economics that spans human groups, non-human animal groups, and individual organisms. It's an economics of biological life, if you will. This is important to understand as our ancestral economics gives rise to our own economies. Our large-scale ancestral economies evolves into our current economies, which are riddled with stratification, war, and many other illnesses, these alpha predator male patriarchal remnants. But what's also important to understand is that these things we consider illnesses today, destructive to civilization, were not so back then. Those were the adaptations to help alphas replicate their genes. These are, in a way, not problems, but solutions. Solutions that, from an alpha predator male patriarchal perspective of trying to replicate your genes maximally. But they're problems in the face of trying to make civilization. Now, there are certain states of mind and states of groups of minds that naturally form from the process of evolution in the context of scarcity and oppression. Meaning, certain kinds of mind states and certain kinds of groups with certain economies help maximize the replications of organisms. The genes create predispositions for animals to have such agencies and form certain group organizations to help the genes maximize their replications. I'll be focusing on two such agencies, macro alpha predator male agency and beta prey female agency, and one such group organization, the macro alpha predator male organization. So basically there's certain kind of economies will emerge because of how evolution works. And it'll create certain kinds of groups. It'll structure the group in a certain way because of this. Alrighty.